knew you would be.
It's got to be. It's got to be done. It's just got to be done. Good afternoon, Mr. Cudworth. How are you, sir?
I'm absolutely fantastic, Graham. Thank you very much. I want to say welcome to all our listeners. Welcome to another fantastic show we're going to be on. What a hotly debated title that I created for this one as well.
Absolutely. As I said a little while ago, I'm just going to let you talk with this one. It's your title. You go for it. I'm going to sit and listen and learn from you. Anyway, folks, good afternoon and welcome. Please let me introduce you to the man, the myth, the one and only. It's Batman, really. That's who he is. He's Batman. No, sorry, Superman.
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 I tell you what.
Yeah. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cuddy Cudworth.
Well, thank you very much. Welcome to everyone that's going to be listening into the show today. Today, the show title is What is Low Self-Worth and Why Do I Have It? And I am today joined. You picked all the naming things for the Cuddy Cudworth. So I was like, right, what am I going to say? So I'm going to say my mentor, my guiding light, my absolute master of the Jedi, Graham Nichols!
Oh dear. It's all good fun. Anyway, good afternoon, folks. If you're out there, if you're watching, drop us a comment in the comment box. We can see them here. We'll give you a shout out, and you can always comment on everything we're talking about as we go through today's show. So we were kind of having a bit of a discussion backstage, as we call it, as it is here, about what self-worth is. And Cuddy came up with the most amazing description of what self-worth is. So I'm going to throw it over to him to throw self-worth out there, and then I'll throw my 2 penneth worth in after that.
So
go on.
It's one of those things that most people don't realize whether they have a high or low self-worth. But it's one of those words that gets thrown around. So a lot of people start saying, oh, I have low self-worth. So how do you know, first of all, if you have low self-worth? And I thought that was a really good question. How do you know? Because most people, it's a fine line, because a lot of people might not know what low self-worth is. Then there's some people who just don't feel right, so they think they have something, so they'll look for something to describe the way that they're feeling. So low self-worth, if you're the kind of person that's not the best at setting boundaries, sacrifices your own happiness for everybody else's happiness, you seem to sacrifice yourself in relationships. You're not there to cause a fuss. You're just there. You feel like you're quite trodden on quite a lot, stamped on an awful lot. Not much confidence. You are feeling that you're a lesser person than absolutely everybody else around you. And that can make for a very miserable experience in life, where you're constantly getting frustrated. That little monkey mind keeps turning up saying, shh, don't say anything. Absolutely. No, you're not as good as these people. It's just, it's a horrible cyclone of these emotions. So low self-worth. Now, that's an example of low self-worth. However, I think the second part is, why do I have it, is a better question. And to answer that for the next 57 minutes, I'm going to pass over to the one, the only, Graham Nichols, everybody. Graham Nichols.
Awesome. I tell you the thing that I find most people get a little bit confused on, a little bit back to front, is the difference between self-worth and self-esteem.
Yes.
Now, I think there are these are two clearly different things, but I can understand why people get mixed up with the two. For me, self-esteem tends to be more of an external thing. It's about what we do for others. It's about how others treat us. It's about how we perceive others treat us and that sort of thing. Self-worth is purely an internal feeling. And the easiest way to determine whether somebody has high self-worth or good self-worth or low self-worth, bad self-worth, however you want to call it, is simply by asking, do you feel worthy? And that's the difference, because obviously we're not talking worth in terms of money. We're talking worth in terms of how we feel about ourselves. And let's be honest, certainly in our culture here in the UK, and I think quite a lot of the world follows this, although I may be overgeneralizing it, I do think that people in general have this aversion to caring for themselves, to loving themselves, to accepting them as being worthy. So the question is self-worth about accepting that you're worthy, you were given life, you're here on the planet, you're living, therefore you're worthy? Is that what self-worth is about? Is it about accepting that you are human, you're here and you're alive? Do you really have to do anything? Because if self-esteem is an external thing about you doing for others and how you perceive others see you and feel about you, is self-worth just about loving yourself and accepting that you're human and alive? I think that's a really interesting question. Why do I have it? As your question is in the title, as in why do I have low self-worth?
Correct.
I think the reason that people have self-worth is because there is this thing that people just see it's wrong to love themselves, to care for themselves, to accept themselves for who they are. And I really do think that has an effect on people's self-worth. And I can talk from, personal history. When I was younger, if I was talking 15, 20 years ago, even though I was externally, I was helping people, I was a life coach, I was running my own business, and I was doing for other people, did I have any self-worth? No, because I didn't love myself. I didn't care for myself. I think the one thing you said that really resonated with me, Cuddy, was that as long as other people are happy, it doesn't matter how happy I am. And that's about self-worth. And you nailed it there. That's how I used to feel. As long as all my friends and family were happy, and if I could do anything to help them be happy was my thought train, then I didn't matter. Therefore, I wasn't worthy. That was my thought train. So is self-worth just about loving, caring for, and accepting ourselves? And do you have low self-worth because you won't do that? I'd suggest that might be a really good starting point to look at. Are you worthy? Ask yourself the question. Are you worthy, Cuddy?
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Okay, so if you are, why are you worthy?
I see that's I like that question because I was formulating an answer for something completely different. So I like what you've thrown there. So why am I worthy? Because well, why I am worthy, and I like that question because I'm alive and I have the ability to get up and do things. I've been given. It's not too small to say I've been given life, and that's why I'm worthy. I've been given opportunities in life that were brought to me by my parents that have given me worth of I can make whatever I want happen by understanding my beliefs about myself, about others, and what's going on. And that's what gives me worth. It gives me joy as well. I think my self-worth possibly gives me self-joy. It gives joy. It gives me joy. And by doing that, I give joy to others. And that's something that I find absolutely fascinating. What I was actually going to respond with before you threw me the curveball, which I don't know if I stuttered my way through that one, but I like that one. Thank you very much.
You did well.
Graham. Thank you. Is why do I have low self-worth? And that would come from the meanings that we create. Now, when something happens to you, what is the questions that you ask? And how does your monkey mind answer? Or how does the internal you, the inner child you, whatever you want to call it, but how does that monkey mind answer? Don't forget your monkey mind is you, it's your emotional side of you. But what we ask these questions, we have to ask these questions, and we give answers. If those questions, you start creating a pattern of thinking. And if you repeat the pattern of thinking 3, 4 times, you've got a belief. That's literally how quickly it is. It doesn't mean that the pattern of thinking is correct, and it doesn't mean that the beliefs you have about yourself. So when somebody says, well, why do I have low self-worth? I would honestly, if they ask me that question, say, I've got some really good news for you. You don't have low self-worth. You think you have low self. You don't have anything. It's not yours to own. It's not yours to cuddle up to and say, oh, you're my best friend. Now, it takes more than that just to walk away, change those belief patterns and those thinking patterns. Absolutely. But once you do, then you realize actually, and that's the art of perspective. I love that sentence. And I'm sure I'm going to do a book, but the art of perspective, changing your point of view on what you're thinking and where you are is a very, very powerful thing to do. And I think hope for that to anybody who's watching or listening today is that's how you change your self-worth. If you've created, if something, and that comes to the key decisions we made as well, Graham. I think that's a really powerful tool that we use. I know that that's an extremely powerful tool. You make decisions through your life from your perspective. So, under your understanding, if a parent has done something to you that you thought, as your child mind, especially your chimp mind, decided to make a conscious decision about, oh, well, I must not be good enough. Let's use that as an example. You drop something at school, all the kids laugh at you, and then you make a conscious decision, right, at a very young age, oh, I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy of people's love. If you have two broken relationships when you're growing up, you've started a pattern of thinking and believing there of, actually, I'm not lovable. That gets put all the way down to your subconscious. Let's shove that all the way down there, just as a reminder. Don't need to be thinking about it now, but next time you get into a relationship, you might sabotage that success because you'll be thinking, well, that person's going to break up with me anyway. What's the point in getting invested? You see, that's not a normal that's not a thinking pattern that a lot of people have. But coming from your subconscious, there's a pattern of style of thinking there. And that's why these things, and you have to work on your beliefs and your identity to get past low self-worth. And this is getting more and more evident, and more a lack of understanding of how these things work and happen. It seems to be popping up more and more, especially in men.
Yeah, absolutely. It's I think as the population ages, because we are in an aging population, I think men get to a certain point in life where they start questioning, are they doing enough for their families? Are they doing enough in their career? They're maybe not in, they don't feel that they're young enough to be able to change their career, and therefore can't go any further. I think there's a whole bunch of stuff that starts questioning with men. Now, I'm not saying this doesn't affect women as well, but from my sort of age and upwards, people start to consider that. And self-worth, we seem to put self-worth on a scale, and I don't really, I was going to say I don't understand why. I do, because having been there, having not felt worthy, if somebody said to me, how worthy do you feel? Mine would have been 0 out of 10, if not minus 10 out of 10. And we seem to put it on that scale. But can you really scale self-worth? Everybody is worthy in some way, shape, or form. It's just whether we feel that way. And therefore, it's whether we think that way. And it's exactly what you said. If we think that we're not worthy and that settles down, it's kind of like a seed from a weed being blown across the wind, and it settles and it digs its way down into your garden. And then you put paving slabs all over the top of your garden, and you think you've covered it. You've put some black mesh underneath it and put some paving slabs. And then one day you go out in the morning and there's this weed sat there going, hello, I'm here. And you're like, where did you come from? But that's how those seeds of low self-worth, they creep up. They get buried deep down in us, and all of a sudden they start creeping up, and they start popping into our conscious mind as stupid, irrational thoughts. And yet they drag us down. Your example with the relationship, you get into a relationship, and if you've had a couple of breakups before, you then don't feel worthy of being in a relationship, so you sabotage it. You start arguing with that person, or you don't do stuff to show that person how much you care for them, whatever it may be. You just sabotage it and it breaks down. It's the same in any area of your life. If it's with your health, if you don't believe you're worthy of having good health, then you sabotage your good health by eating a load of rubbish and not exercising and all that sort of stuff. It's just what we do. So I guess the follow-up question from why do I have it is, how do I get it? Or do I need to get it? And I'm not sure we need to get it. We just need to understand it a bit more and accept the fact that we are worthy. And every time a thought crops up that says you're not, then we need to go, is that true? Because that's the core of the whole thing, is whether it's true or not, whether that thought is true or not. And if it's not true, then we need to get rid of it. Would that be, am I just talking around in circles here? I'm not quite sure, because
no,
it kind of feels like I'm going around in circles.
No, not at all. I like to listen just as much as the listeners in there, especially when it comes to low self-worth. It's that repeated pattern, and you have to break the pattern, and you have to fight, because it's all right as talking about, why do men have, and I know we have lady listeners as well, female listeners as well, when it comes to that low self-worth, is at what point, because we always talk about the pain in the comfort zone. We create, if you're always looking for the reasons why you're not worthy and not able to change and move, you're never going to look at the solutions of how to change and grow, because it's scary, isn't it? I mean, it is scary. And holding on to that story that I have low self-worth, because it becomes a focus and a repetition of, well, it's all right, Cuddy and Graham saying, oh, well, everybody can have high self-worth or better self-worth. They don't understand my story. You fall. I'm interested with that, because I'm like, well, tell me your story. Because then you tell me your story, and I'm like, okay, so you've told me all the bad things. Now, and I do this a lot with my clients, actually. I'm like, perfect, you've told me everything that's wrong. Can you just tell me everything that you can do? That's all I need to do to see my list. Oh, well, I can do this, and this. All right. So you've given me a list of 7 things that I've created that low self-worth, but you've now given me 12 things that are things that could get you away past. Why are you choosing to look at these? And that begs the question, because that's what opens up in them. Oh, well, yeah, why am I doing it? Let's work on that. Why are you constantly focusing on the negative? And what do you have to do to start focusing on what you do have? And actually, one of my first clients when I did start out on this journey was actually a friend's wife. Super intelligent lady. And she was talking and talking and talking. After about 45 minutes of listening, I went, can I stop you for a second? And she was like, yeah. I went, it sounds like you think you're not a good mum. She went, oh, well, yeah. Oh, yeah. Right, okay. I said, perfect. For the next 5 minutes, will you tell me why you are a good mum? And she did. She rattled it off. And after the session, she was like, oh, I get it now. I'm not a bad mum. I went, nope, but you've got a seed. You've got that seed. You've just been watering the horse manure you've been putting on, the seed. It's not good, not good, not good, not good. Because it's easy to look at the times when you're raising your kids and the kids are not happy. The kids have turned around and said, Mummy, I hate you, or Mummy, I like Daddy more than you, in those instances and things like that. And as adults, we don't actually know how to protect ourselves from that, and because we take it, because we are very much fueled by love, and if we don't get that love where we think we should get love from, there's a belief system started on that, right? So there's a belief system starting, and if you're a parent, you're thinking, well, that little thing's supposed to love me, because I remember when I was a kid, I loved my mum and dad unconditionally, but I bet you there was times where you were like, I don't love you, Mummy. I love Daddy more. Why is Daddy at work?
Yeah.
But it's that conscious mind of what you want to focus on in that moment, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm quite open with sharing, how I felt in the past when I was diagnosed with depression, anxiety, and stress all at the same time. Yeah, at that point, I would say if you asked me what my level of self-worth was, it was in the negative. It really was, because I didn't know then what I know now. So I would have happily scored it quite low. But as I started to learn about different things and learn to help myself through that, every time I felt like I got low self-worth, or every time I started to drift that way, I would ask myself, what's the reason that I want to feel like that? Is it an excuse so that I don't have to change? Is it an excuse so that I don't have to be happy? Is it an excuse so I don't have to improve and I'm just stuck where I am? And I found that to be a really interesting question, because was I using it? What reason? There is always, for everything we do and everything we feel and everything we think, there is always some sort of intent behind it. And if that intent is to hold you back or to keep you there, then you've got to ignore that intent and move past it. However, there's a train of thought in various different psychological areas that every intent behind something is a positive intent. So when you start to ask yourself that question about why am I thinking that? Why am I feeling that? Am I using it as an excuse? You can also ask yourself, what positively am I trying to get out of this? What positive am I trying to get out by feeling like I have low self-worth, by feeling down, by feeling depressed or anxious or stressed? And when it comes to low self-worth, the positive intent for me turned out to be that I was trying to protect myself from the change that might happen because I had no idea what was on the other side. If I, did work my way through it, get through anxiety, depression, stress, and start to feel better, start to feel happy, and increase my self-worth, I was absolutely somewhere inside petrified and fearful of what that change might be. Because, well, if I'm not doing it now, why am I not doing it now? What's wrong with me in the future? What could happen the other side? Could I lose the people around me because all of a sudden they won't love me? They won't give me the love and connection anymore because I'm happy all the time, or not all the time, but most of the time. Could I lose, love and connection of my family or my friends or whatever? Could I somehow lose a connection and love with myself? Because you tend to get a lot of connection with yourself when you're feeling really rubbish about yourself. You tend to connect with yourself inwardly. Could I lose that? So the positive intent behind it all turned out to be that that I was trying to protect myself. The truth is that the best way to protect myself was to start feeling better and become happier and have more joy and peace in my life. But in that moment, my unconscious mind was going, that's something completely new. This I understand and know, and yes, it feels a bit rubbish, but I know and understand it. So I'm going to stay here and I'm going to protect you by keeping you in that place. And that's what your mind tends to do. Your unconscious mind is there to protect you, even though it's terrible at it because it protects you by keeping you stuck and still. But that's what your unconscious mind is there to do. It's there to protect you. And that's exactly what was happening with me. When I felt like I got low self-esteem, low self-worth, depressed, anxious, and stressed, if I actually stopped to think about what's the positive intent behind this, well, I'm trying to protect myself from feeling the change it might feel over there, just in case it doesn't happen, or just in case I lose friends or family or love or connection, whatever it may be. At that point, I can start to go, well, actually, that's a really poor reason for wanting to protect myself, because I know that when I get to being happy, my friends and family are going to be happy for me. I know I'm going to feel a whole much load better. I know that I'm going to have more energy in myself. So all of a sudden I could start to break that down. So I guess the question to anybody listening is, what's the positive intent behind you feeling like you've got low self-worth? What are you trying to protect yourself from?
I like the way you've worded that, because I would have worded it differently, because I think, and I suppose I'm looking from my experience of depression, and when I was going through my turbulent time of self-pity, is you do get love when you first go into a situation. Because like I always tell everyone, I did not know I was depressed. I did not know what I was going through at all. I was like, what the F has just happened? I've gone from thinking that I love life to being that person to absolutely waking up in the morning with that pit in the stomach of, today's going to be an absolute horrible day. I'm like, this is not me. But when you first start going through things, you get the attachment of attention. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, let me give you love. See, a little monkey mind has gone. There's an association for that doom and gloom. Someone's came and give you love. You've created a dopamine hit for 7 seconds. Do that 3 times of doom and gloom, and somebody comes over and, oh, let me give you love. Let me 3 dopamine hits for that self-pity, right? So the positive intent is actually you've made an unconscious decision that, oh, if I say the whole world's against me and woe is me, somebody will come and give you love and attention, which is generally what you're craving because you have no love for yourself, which is hard. And I understand that for everyone out there as well. I genuinely understand that. It is hard. However, that's been the positive intent. You've made an unconscious decision that when you go woe is me, you get attention. That's the positive intent. It's created a belief system within yourself that, oh, if I play the victim, somebody, you'll only look for that one person giving you attention to make you feel better, to get that dopamine hit. You'll probably miss out on the 27 people that are like, keep that person away from me, because that's just, I need to block that. I need to block that. And that's why I'm not saying I don't disagree with hashtag just be kind, but sometimes hashtag just be kind, you can't always be kind, because at a certain point you're going to have to give someone a kick up the tuchus and say, dude, you need to sort it out. Or, come on, my lovely, you're going to have to sort it out. You can't keep repeating this pattern, because you are going to notice everyone's going away, and you'll create another meaning from that. And you double down in on these unconscious beliefs that we have. And then you start going even more introverted and then say, well, it is me. I'm the problem. I'm broken. I need fixing. You're not broken. You don't need fixing. But you have to be the one that does the work. Nobody else is going to come along and increase your self-worth. Coaches are very good at assisting you, giving you the tools to do it, but not being the ones that do it. It's funny because I say that when I'm with my clients and look, I can help. Not a problem. Let's get you where you want to be, but you're going to have to do the work. Yeah, totally understand that. But that's I think that's a really powerful thing for to understand is there will have been a positive intent somewhere, and that behavior that you have, like you mentioned, you will have made an association somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're absolutely right about the dopamine hits as well. By the time you've had 3 dopamine hits, you're hooked. It's like having 3 hits of anything, isn't it? Anything that somehow feels good. You're absolutely hooked to it. And it's like a habit forms immediately. Oh, well, if I do that, then that happens. If I do that, then that happens. But of course, as you say, when that's taken away, so if I do that and then that person, instead of coming giving you a hug and listening to you and caring for you, suddenly goes, come on, mate, you need to pull your socks up. All of a sudden, that dopamine hit isn't there. And it's like being broken, isn't it? It's like being broken in two. So the place you go for that connection is inside. So you go and you connect into yourself by going, I'm terrible, I'm horrible, what a waste of space, all of that sort of stuff, because it connects with you inside, all right, at a very negative level. But again, you're trying to get that dopamine hit from yourself because that person's taken it away. For me, one of the hardest things of being a coach is the point where, you know, I always say as a coach, I will always tell my clients the truth, no matter what. I will always be honest, not brutally honest, because I think you can go too far, but I will always be honest. One of the hardest things for me to say to somebody is that, listen, I'm doing this work with you, but you're not doing the work, and you're the one that needs to do the work. I can't make all your problems disappear. I can't change everything for you. You need to do the work. And some people need to hear that, and it really hurts. But as a coach, I'm absolutely committed to helping that person, but they need to do the work. And it's the one thing that, I guess the one message from today, if you're watching for today, the one message is you're the one that needs to do the work. Yes, there are people who can help you, like coaches, but you need to do the work. And that work is really hard sometimes, because finding a different way to make that positive intent come true can be really hard. Actually doing it is even harder. But the results, the results at the end of all of that are so worth it. It's kind of like when somebody goes out to run a marathon and they put their body through an incredible amount of strain and effort, and they're absolutely shattered and they're breathing hard and their muscles are aching. And yet it's amazing that when they get a couple of 100 yards from that finish line, they can find a way to up their pace to go through and get through the finish line, and then feel within an hour or so, feel absolutely amazing that they've completed that. They've gone through the pain to get to where they want to get to, and they can feel amazing that they've achieved that thing. It's no different to improving your self-worth, to starting to love yourself, to starting to connect with yourself at a deep level. The work's hard, but the rewards at the end are absolutely phenomenal. I just want to say hi to David Green, who's joined us. Hi, David. How you doing? Afternoon. Thank you for joining us.
Is that a wave from Dave or an applaud from Dave? I was trying to figure out.
It's a wave. I think it's a wave.
A wave.
I think it's a wave.
That was
Can't get any
close,
closer.
Graham. That was very close.
Yeah. Maybe you wanted to scare everyone to scare people off. That's the way to do
So I'm looking at the emoji con there because of the distance it is. It looks like for David, it looks like for me, two hands with a little barbell and he's shaking the barbell. That's what I don't know why. It's like he's gripping a little dumbbell and he's shaking it like that. I don't know why I thought that when I saw it, but unbelievable. Yeah. So we're getting back to the whole point about low self-worth, because you start focus. Look, and I just don't think you can. Good evening, Mr. Green. Oh, it's very posh when we say that. Good evening, Mr. Green. Welcome to the show.
Good evening, sir.
You become a pattern of repeating what you do. Now, what's the saying you always say? Is repetition is the mother of all skill, right?
And practice is the father.
Perfect. So, using those two terms, if you keep repeating a bad thought process, it will become you. It will become, you have to start changing. And I'm still surprised today how some people still think that they can't change. That one still, it does pop up. I'm like, do they not understand that they can change the way? And they don't understand how they can see a different way of it. Look, key decisions again. I'd love to go back to those key decisions questions again, because they wonder. When you did it with me, and even I knew about it, but when you did it with me, pretty much I more or less shot on with the rest of the course and finished it after that as well. It was unbelievable, because it's going back and looking at the decisions you made when something really bad. And look, we always talk about this, that there's so many atrocities that happen in life, but your unconscious mind, your mind makes a decision right there and then, and it doesn't mean to say that it was the right decision. And that's where most people's beliefs and emotional disturbances come from, right?
Absolutely. We make that key decision at some point in our past, usually when we're kids, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
Certainly when we're a lot younger than we are now. And we make that key decision. And because we've then made that key decision, we then unconsciously believe that to be true. So we start looking for the areas that it is true. We start looking for the points that reinforce that belief. It's like you were saying earlier about people focus on what they think about. You were talking about the lady who was only focusing on the bad things she was doing as a mum, and the reason for that, somewhere in her past, she will have made a key decision that connects to that, and therefore she just focuses on that. And that's what we all do. We all focus on the things that reinforce that decision, that belief that we've created inside, and we ignore. Our brains have got this amazing ability to absolutely delete the things we don't want to see, hear, feel, or anything along those lines. So if there's something pops up that is in complete opposition to our belief and that key decision, our brain goes, I'm not interested. And we just swats it away like an annoying little fly. You belt it out of the way. But that's what it does. And all of a sudden you've deleted that. It's why people, and I always marvel, because I used to be exactly the same as this, and I had to learn to change it. I marvel when you pay somebody a compliment and they go, oh no, that's not me. The reason they're doing that is because that's against their limiting belief in some way. And if you give them a compliment, they swat it away, is because that's against their limiting belief, and their limiting belief is going, oh, that might prove me wrong. Go away. And that's what we do. And people get into that habit of swatting those compliments away because it might just challenge how they feel about themselves. Whereas if somebody was to pay you a compliment and you were to go, oh, thank you, I really appreciate that. All of a sudden that sinks in and your soul and your spirit goes, I like that feeling. I'll take that in. And then the next time somebody pays you a compliment, oh, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. Sinks in, soul, spirit, like that. And it starts to challenge just a little bit that limiting belief. Whatever that limiting belief is, it starts to challenge it. But that's why people swat compliments away, because it's challenging their limiting belief. That whole limiting belief we've built up that we see, it's like putting blinkers on horses, isn't it? It's like, putting tunnel vision on. I can see that thing coming towards me. Yep, I accept that. That fits with my belief. Yeah, I'll take that one in. Oh, that one goes against it. Oh, I'm going to look over there. I'm going to look over there. Is it gone yet? Is it gone yet? Is it gone yet? Yeah, it's gone now. I can come back. It's exactly what we do. Our brains do that so automatically. We have that ability to delete or generalize something, or just we can even distort stuff. Our brains will distort stuff. Something comes in that is challenging our limiting beliefs. We can distort that whole situation and go, well, actually, it kind of means this. We change the meaning on it, and then we can accept it in because now it fits with our limiting belief that we're not good enough and we don't have any self-worth. And that's just how it works. That's what we do. I remember when we did that key decision thing with you, Cuddy, the switch was like a light switch going on in your face and in your eyes, because all of a sudden you realized where that belief came from, and it was gone. It was just like, oh, that was just complete and utter rubbish, so I don't need it anymore. You've done it with your clients since then, and you've told me about it, and it works every time, because all of a sudden that limiting belief has been proven to be absolute rubbish. So now you can start to see the different things. When you said to that lady about the being a bad mother and a good mother, and you showed her the good mother stuff by getting her to describe it, all of a sudden, boom, she suddenly started to break that limiting belief down, because there's a different perspective. Again, the words you used, that whole perspective shift is so major in our lives. And if we can shift out that perspective, we can start to see clearly. We can start to take those blinkers off so we can see in a peripheral vision and take the things in that are really important, those things that really help us to live our lives. And I've rattled on for long enough. It's over to you. We should probably read David's comment, shouldn't we?
I want to, actually, because David, if key decisions were made at an early childhood point, can the neurological damage still be reprogrammed? I'm going to jump straight in on this, Graham. 100% yes. 100% yes. For anyone that's listening, if you believe you have a neurological damage, that's a label. That's a label that becomes part of your identity. You start believing that, which might stop you. That becomes your belief, a limiting belief. That would become not an excuse, because it's certainly not an excuse, but that becomes a belief and a reason to stop you or to stop anybody moving forward. And I hear it all the time. So I know a lot, we were talking about, I don't know if we've talked about this in the past, but it's like, what emotion triggers you? I don't like the way people talk about themselves. And I think I've talked to you about this before, Graham, right? And I'm like, why do people? But it's not my place. It's not my place to say.
It's not yours.
Yeah, it makes my skin crawl the way people talk about themselves, because they've started creating a label and a reason to not go in and do something. Even can I use an example, Graham?
Of course, you can use an example, Cuddy. That's what we're here for.
Because I want to also show you, Graham, how much I've grown and just let people talk the way that they want to talk. So, David, it's lessening the term, but it's the label that we create to stop us doing something. So I go dipping. There's a dipping group that you can join, and we go dipping in the cold water. I did a live event that I was going to coach people to get into the water to see if they want to come and join in. Not a problem. And then there was about 5 people came down, and there was a guy and a woman, and the woman was sat in the car. She was sat in the car, and I said, "Are you coming in, love?" She was like, "Oh, no, I can't. I've got asthma. I can't get in the water because I can't breathe." All right, if I get in the water, I'll just lose my breath. And oh, no, Cuddy, I can't do it. Not a problem. Not a problem. Not a problem at all. That's fine. In the time we went dipping, that person smoked 4 cigarettes that would be more damaging to the asthma. So that person had created a label to stop them doing something instead of just saying, "No, I'm too scared to get in the water." But that's how we work. That's how the mind works. We're going to create another story and a label. And if we've been living that label long enough, and that's become part of our life, and we've lost certain things because of that, that label becomes more factual than what actually you can do. So you can change neurological of what you would think damage. It can. It's not about reprogramming. It's about changing certain things within yourself, your identity, your beliefs, and your values, to have them aligned up, you would start seeing things differently. 100%, David, you would. And Graham, you're more than welcome to jump in on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Changing that key decision in the past is absolutely possible, because when we tend to remember our earliest childhood memory, if it's some sort of trauma that we've made that key decision in, and I use trauma in a very broad term, it doesn't have to be some sort of major trauma like abuse or major accident or something. It can be something really simple, that a whole bunch of people laughed at you when you did something wrong, or your parents laughed at you when you did something wrong, and you make a decision in that point. But that's never, or very, very rarely, our actual earliest childhood memory. We just remember that because it's the one that sticks out the most. So if we go back past that and remember a better childhood memory from before that, we can then make a different key decision in that moment. And that helps us, almost like magic, to reprogram. And I think maybe, I don't know if reprogram is right, but it helps different neurons in our brains to connect. Over the last, I guess, 10 years or so, the scientific advances in understanding neuroplasticity and how much our brains can create connections and expand at an amazing rate has been phenomenal. And we can do that well if we make another key decision. Literally, our lives those neurons start to connect somewhere else and start to change. The biggest fear part is exactly what you said, Cuddy, in the fact that we might have lost out on stuff because we made that decision, because we haven't followed through. If we've lost out on a major career move or something because we held ourselves back, thanks to that limiting belief, thanks to that key decision in the past, there's a fear that goes, oh my God, how much have I actually missed out on here?
Yeah.
But if we have the sense to make the key decision in the past and then look towards the now and the future, and what we can then go and achieve, what we can then move forward with, then we have the opportunity to shift our entire lives. That shifting of that key decision, that shifting of that limiting belief, and starting to break it down and replacing it with something that's more empowering, that's going to help you grow, is one of the critical things you can do. And I'm going to really dig home the fact that you need to have something to replace that with. You can't just go, oh, that key decision was wrong, I'm just going to obliterate it and all will be well. Doesn't work. You need to make a better decision than you did back then, and you need to find a more empowering belief that you can shift into rather than the limiting belief you've had. That way, you can start to grow as a human being. You're absolutely right, Cuddy. When you start to align your beliefs with your values and with your identity, you start to grow as a human being, and that's when your self-worth really does shine through. For me, I when I coach somebody who says they have low self-worth, that's the model I would absolutely use. I would use the model of looking at their beliefs, looking at their values, looking at their identity, and then looking at the behaviors that low self-worth is causing and the intent behind it. And then when we start to balance all that out, it's almost like magic. The self-worth just becomes apparent. The self-worth, the higher self-worth, if you like, just becomes apparent. And again, I don't like having self-worth on a scale. I really don't. Nobody has no self-worth. You might feel like you do, but you don't. You're worthy because you're alive, you're a human being, you're here on this planet. But putting it on a scale of saying it's low to high, or 1 to 10, or 1 to 1,000, or 1 to 1,000,000, it just doesn't work. We all are worthy. It's just we need to understand that and be balanced enough with our life and to do the inner work to figure out that we're all worthy. And as I've finished rattling on for a bit, I'm going to say hi to Francis. Hi, Francis.
Hi, Francis.
So I guess my question to you, Cuddy, and I see you, and we talk quite a lot. I see you as quite a balanced person. You've done the inner work, the balance. Internally, maybe I know you're a bit bonkers, but internally, you've done the work to balance your beliefs with your values and with your identity. I know you have. I've been part of some of that anyway.
Yes.
That when you balance those three out, how powerful is it to the rest of your life?
Oh, because I was thinking about sharing my. It doesn't matter the level Well, it does matter. There's different levels of trauma, but you still make a decision in your life. And I'll be honest, it's all remember, Graham, every time I always threw back to what my decision was, key decision. It didn't matter. It made me think I couldn't do exams. It made me think I was going to fail every test I ever did. It made me think I was not really good in certain situations. Even doing the test I would have done yesterday, the old belief popped up, but it just dissipated in seconds because I knew it was gone. So for David, I'm not lessening anyone's trauma or anything like that. My key decision when I made as a small child, I can't remember the age, was I failed my cycling proficiency test. So when we were kids growing up, I was the only person in my class who failed learning how to ride his bike and getting a certificate for it. So I went to soccer school, and I wouldn't go to the soccer school for the first day because I was too nervous because I thought I was going to fail. That was like a couple of years later. I thought I was going to fail me driving exam, but I passed first time. But I still was like, oh, I'm going to fail. I don't really know why I'm trying on this. And you don't know why. I didn't know why I was going to keep saying I was going to fail. But when I was about 6 years old, I failed my cycling proficiency test. I was the only person in the class. I remember crying. And I remember no one laughed at me or anything like that. Everyone was like, oh, no, it's all right. It's not a problem. It doesn't matter and all that stuff. But I still had that decision. And I made that decision. You asked me straight away, what's your earliest childhood memory? And I said, oh, riding my bike at Christmas. And then you said, can you think of a time when you didn't feel good enough? I went, oh, straight away, believe it or not, riding my bike, but on the test. My God, I'm just realizing now I've been riding my bike all my life. Anyway, so that for me, David, I'd made a decision there, and I'd never really been good at exams. I was never very good at exams at school. Quite mediocre and average, to be honest with you. Whenever there was like something, there was an exam at the end, I would freak out when it came to an exam because I didn't know why, but I was like, no, I'm going to fail. But you look back, and then I did the work with Graham. It's just not even look back, and it's just like, oh, the test we had to do with the course and things like that. I was like, yeah, just rattled off with it, not a problem. I get exams in other areas that I'm doing things. Yeah, not a problem. Just go through these things. And so 100%, David, if you've got or you believe you have a neurological damage from childhood, you absolutely can. It's a pattern of thinking that can be redone. 100% it can. But yes, David, you'd be the one that had to do the work because the old you or the old programming, if you want to use it, the programming of your computer would be there. You give it new framework, you give it a new pathway, and you have to repeat the new pathway of thinking. You have to be fully aware. That's why I use the elastic band. You have to be fully aware when your old program comes up to create a new program. And you have to start repeating the new program until the old Windows Vista is no longer around. All right, you're operating on Windows 11. Is it Windows 11 now? Windows 10? Until you're operating on Windows 10 and Windows Vista's gone, you have to keep repeating. And when it comes up, you're going to have to forgive yourself and say, that was the old me. Let's carry back on. Because you're going to go back into the old you because that's what was comfortable, but it's not where you should be. We like that comfortableness of sometimes depression, woe is me, is so much easier than having to fight and box out of the corner. No, we've got this and we can do this. And that's why you have to repeat the new reprogramming, the new system, the new method for you, David. So I hope that helps. And David, even if you were to do this live now, for what I don't know if it is you, David, or somebody else in your family, ask him the questions, Graham. You ask the key decisions. You ask the questions as the process, and give David or one of David's friends the opportunity to answer those questions within his mind.
Sure. Well, before I do, I want to use your experience to make the point. So when I was doing this with you, you talked me through the whole cycling proficiency test. What was that decision you made at that point?
I wasn't good enough. I wasn't good enough to do tests.
Yeah, I wasn't good enough to do tests. So what's the point? I'm going to fail anyway, or something like that were your words, I think.
Yeah.
So when I ask that, I'm looking for what decision Cuddy's making, what decision he made back then, and what decision he's carried on through his life. I'm then going to ask, what was that really about? What really happened in that moment? And Cuddy would tell me that, well, what would you tell me? What really happened in that moment? It was just a cycling test. It didn't really matter. Something along those lines.
Yeah.
As you look back at it now,
I could still ride my bike.
yeah, absolutely. So the next question is, what's an effective decision that you can make now? And what was your new decision?
I didn't need the cycling proficiency test to mean that I could ride a bike. At that point, I did think that's what I was like riding, but no, I was still like going ride my bike.
Yeah. So from that point on, if you'd have had that perspective in your life, how would you have felt about tests?
A lot better.
Yeah.
Absolutely a lot better.
Yeah. What we're looking for is the truth about the situation. We're always looking for the truth in the situation, not the key decision that we jump to, not the limiting belief we create, not the stupid thought pattern that comes up that creates that limiting belief in that key decision. What we're looking for is the truth in that situation. In your case, the truth of that situation was, yep, you failed the test. So what? You can still go out and ride your bike. It was a stupid test anyway. It didn't matter. That's the truth behind it. Just because they told you that, you know, this was something you needed to do, rubbish. I remember doing my cycling proficiency test as well. Did it change the way I rode my bike, or how often I rode my bike, or how much I love riding my bike? Not a bit. And I'm guessing it didn't change a bit about what you did with your bike either.
No.
So the truth of it was a stupid test, and it didn't really matter in the first place. So just carry on riding your bike, because it's what you did. When we look for the truth behind stuff, then we make better decisions. You were about to dive in with
which kind of is the same with all my GCSEs and everything. They were stupid tests that I never really needed or used after. True. But we created a meaning to what they believed, hence why we call the show The Meaning of Life. Absolutely, David. Absolutely. So the key decisions.
So my earliest memory and where I made a key decision was being over at my grandma's house. And my grandma used to have this big house, and she had lots of kids who were obviously adults at that point, and all the grandchildren had to go there on Christmas. And after Christmas dinner, we all used to get shoved into a room with a little portable black and white telly to watch James Bond or something. And we were all told children should be seen and not heard. And my earliest memory was of opening the door to look out into where all the adults were therefore gathered, having their own little adult-y stuff on Christmas, and getting shouted at, get back in there, you should be seen and not heard, but I don't even want to see you. And that's my earliest memory. And that just went, well, I'm not worthy then, am I? I'm not good enough to be seen by anybody. So what's the point? And that was the truth of it. Was that's just how kids were, treat in that house. It didn't actually mean anything. The adults wanted their adult time, and the kids were supposed to be out of the way. It didn't really mean anything. It's just how it was. When I actually shifted that and realized that, it was just like, well, so what? I got shouted at. So what? I got to sit and watch James Bond. I loved James Bond when I was a kid. So I got to sit and watch it with all my cousins. Great, So I made a different decision in that moment, that it didn't really matter. And I could absolutely, I was worthy of being seen, and I was good enough to be seen. And now here I sit on a radio show being seen, and I create courses about being, and I'm seen around the world. It really doesn't matter. All that rubbish beforehand really didn't matter. So if you want to change your key decisions, figure out what your earliest childhood memory is that is uncomfortable, that's not nice, that's traumatic, even if it's only smallly traumatic. But in that moment of being shouted at, and in that moment of you not passing your test, that feels like the worst thing in the world. But all you have to do is then look for the truth in that situation, and then make a new, more empowering decision in that moment. That's how you shift a key decision. And it sounds really easy. It really isn't. It's hard work. Just like running that marathon and getting to the end, the reward's worth it. But while you're running it, my God, it's killing you. And I could run a marathon if I tried at the moment. I'm sure if I started to train, anybody could do it. But I'll go for a walk for 30 minutes in the morning and I'm knackered. But that's just, that's the pain of getting to where you want to be. So go through the pain because the rewards are entirely worthwhile. And Francis,
Absolutely.
thank you for loving our stories. We love you for loving our stories.
She loves the broship as well. You have a wonderful
Yeah, I
friendship.
saw that.
We do work well together, Graham. Actually, we do.
We do. We do.
So, and David, making better decisions for anyone, you will have been in an emotional state as well. The emotional state that was created in that point and that key decision is a big part of it as well. And creating a better emotional state so that you can make a better decision moving forward would also be really powerful for you. And the brain is a wicked thing because there's so many associations, and that's why NLP, neuro-linguistic programming works, is because there's so many things that the brain does that you don't realize it does, and that's why you can play with the brain and the neuroplasticity by changing associations. And they work on so many different levels, and that's the power of NLP. It really is a phenomenal thing, especially creating a different emotional state for making better decisions for you, David. So I genuinely hope that helps.
Absolutely. The emotional state we're in when we make decisions really does determine the quality of the decision we make. If we are in a state of depression or anxiety or anger or frustration, the type of decision we're going to make is going to be based on those emotions. If we make a decision from a better emotional state, happy, joyful, peaceful, excited, loving, caring, whatever, we make better, clearer decisions. And that's scientifically proven that people make better decisions when they are in a better emotional state. It's just how we work. It's an old saying is, don't make a decision. Oh, Cuddy, you did so well. You got 56 minutes in before you had to stifle it, didn't you?
I really did.
Oh, we were talking about that before, and he got 56 minutes in. That's got to be a new world record, folks. If you can, there's an old saying that don't make a decision in a bad state, and you really shouldn't do it. If you're in a bad state, don't make any decisions about your life. Move yourself to a better emotional state so that you can make a better, more informed, and just a calmer, more empowered decision. That's the best way forward. But listen, we've got less than 3 minutes left. So Cuddy Cudworth is now about to tell you about monkey mind relaxation and his brand new course. Go for it, Cuddy.
Well, thank you very much. Next Thursday, we are releasing a whole new course at Monkey Mind Relaxation, and it is called Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life. It's literally as powerful as that. Change your thoughts, change your life. It's an extensive course. It also teaches you how to meditate. It explains to you what your monkey mind is. It helps you understand your emotions and how to change your emotions, but to understand your thoughts and emotions and how they are created so that you can change them. And then there is a 6-week coaching program part of that as well, which is all done on the video course. And I'm extremely excited to announce, I'll be honest with you, the course value is it's $469 for everything that's thrown in. It's not going to be sold for $469. I'm just going to tell you right away, it is £79. But the value in it is
unbelievable.
The 40, I've been telling people for it, and they were saying, oh my God, you're going to sell that for about 200 quid. I'm like, no, I'm not. Not in the present state of where everybody needs to get some quick, absolutely reliable help that you can absolutely change the way that you think to change your life. Perspective is in there, how you can change your perspective, change your emotional states, and those thought viruses that we have that causes anxiety, depression, and that constant worry. You can stop catastrophizing with this course. You can get past worry, what if thinking. It is so extensive. It's took me months to put together. Graham, you know how long it's took me to put it together. And I'm selling it for £79. But I'm going to do a free live event next Thursday in my Monkey Mind group about the power of identity and the labels that we create. And we're going to be touching on that surface layer and the actual identity that we are. So that's next week.
Absolutely. So make your way, go and search in Facebook for the Monkey Mind Relaxation Facebook group. You need to be in there to be able to see it. So you need to get into Cuddy's group to be able to see that. The live training alone will probably be worth the 79 quid that you pay for the course, and you're going to get it for free on that Thursday. So you need to go and dive in and do that, and then hopefully, and I'm sure you will, once you've seen what Cuddy's made of while we've been on these, but absolutely get into his group so that you can see that live training for free and then you can go on and dive on the course afterwards if you choose to. You absolutely need to do that, folks. Anyway, we have got like 10 seconds left. So, folks, thank you very much for joining us today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Cuddy, it's been an absolute marvel, as always, to be with you. Thank you very much, folks, and goodbye.